Hello to everybody. Not to everybody in a sense, and I say this every time. And this time you won't hear the wind accompanying my voice and carrying the podcast. Nevertheless, I think this will be the first single podcast to go up on YouTube since I wanted to not branch off from Spotify, but kind of allow there to be a more diverse demographic of listeners. And I guess YouTube is the mecca of media content and media as a whole. So why not get lost in the algorithm on YouTube? Because you never know who may find it. Like, if you've seen your suggested videos, there's bound to be at one point an advice from an old man or something. And I think it has approximately 26 million views. The video, although during his life, will forever live on beyond his years, because despite the fact that he's gone, that video will be a memory of him. It's funny how we discover new things about people in life and their lives even through their death. We can capture more sometimes through somebody's death than their own life, because sometimes what they leave behind are relics that we weren't supposed to understand in their life. But I think I'm going to work backwards here. The theme of this, and I don't know if it's going to connect. I don't know how it's going to connect. I just know that the poignant thing that I read today was they create desolation and call it peace. This was coined by, I think his name is Tacticus, I believe a Roman teacher. They create desolation and call it peace. It resonated with me, because I've been living like that, especially knowing that I'm not going to be here for a long time. I've created this desolate place within myself, and you could consider this isolation or desolation, but I've desolated myself. I've relegated myself to being discontent, to being quiet, to being in the corner, to kind of allowing my departure to be meaningless. But I guess in trying to be meaningless, I haven't allowed it. I thought I found peace in being this quiet mouse on the wall that allowed himself to not be seen or not be heard. And in that sense, I thought it would make leaving easier, because who would notice that I would leave, and I could just leave without really being noticed or observed or perceived, which is a theme that I've had a hard time with. And yesterday, a group of friends of mine, the Goofy Goobers, as we like to call ourselves, I sat down with them to speak with them, which was also very atypical, because I typically just say hi and bye, but I decided to sit down with them and have a very insightful conversation. And to them, I'm thankful, because I don't have conversations like that, and I don't always get the chance to see someone on a more profound level, deeper than this third dimensional plane that we see each other in from these two-dimensional bodies. These walls are thin, so there's a likelihood that people are hearing me, which is fine, because I have to learn to make my voice heard and not be ashamed of making my voice heard and not discredit myself. As Maya Campbell just said, as I was just saying this, I have to learn to not diminish myself, and I do it subtly, right? I'll say a sentence and I'll diminish it or denigrate it by saying, so and so forth. There's never A squared plus B squared equals C squared. It's like A squared hates B squared, and somehow that's C squared. And I've made peace with that in a sense, but in a sense I've desolated myself. I've given myself no credit, and I kind of find myself thinking that that's peace, but maybe it's not. Again, back on topic. So I sat down and I spoke with them, and I told them that I was leaving, which I haven't told them. I tried to refrain from telling them, since I myself thought that by not telling them, I would spare myself from having to do things with them, which would make departure a lot harder. Because in doing stuff with them, I would actually have fun. And the problem with fun is that you typically can't capture it in a bottle and disperse it whenever you want to. So fun just becomes a memory. And as you know, memories and I are having a tough relationship right now, because a lot of the memories that I have that are good, I wish to relive. And a lot of the things that I live right now, I wish to not have become memories. And I don't mean, I do want to remember them, but I want to remain in that present. I want to keep it. Kind of like this is such a silly ass example, kind of like remnants of food in a really long beard. You kind of conserve it that way. It's a nasty example, but I wish I could do that with life and just take it out when I really needed it. There's a bug on the outside of this window. Sorry, that's off topic. But yeah, I spoke to them. I told them that we were leaving, and we made plans to go to shopping today. We were supposed to go shopping, but I saw a bookstore, got distracted, and I think I have a message that perfectly encapsulates how I feel about bookstores as a whole. My friend Hannah Gorab, who I really love and haven't heard much from, but I really look up to her and admire her, and I really, really, really do appreciate every conversation we have. She asked me how I was doing. I said, at the most peace I've been in since Toronto, in a bookstore surrounded by books, sitting here in the midst of my mind's embers and reading a book, ignoring the world and pouring my heart into my reading, loving every second of it. And I think I stumbled upon 3 books, well 4, but the 4th one didn't really strike me until later. There was Atul Gawande, I think I'm mispronouncing that name, Being Mortal, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson, and How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, which I'm also mispronouncing. And the 4th book was Spore, A History of Ancient Rome. And the quote that I mentioned in the initial parts of this podcast come from the book about Roman history. Now, as for the 2 other books, I think How to Be Anti-Racist is a magnificent book of is not just a critical commentary for everybody to read, but if you are anybody, although we may be different colors in this human experience, it's still a universal human experience. We may not be able to understand each other from the perspectives of cultures, despite the fact that we were raised differently, but we can understand each other through a pain that's universal, and it can be understood differently. Like, there is this groundbreaking Ruth Bader Ginsburg case, can't remember it, but I think she prevailed by framing the case from a different perspective, which didn't allow them to be blinded by their own biases and their own cultures and cultural biases and notions of their own dissonance, but framed it in a way that showed them the universal concept here that was a lot deeper than a lot of the superficialities that we see every day, or a lot of the constructs that we ascribe to every single day, whether it be male, female, black, white, Hispanic, African, Caribbean, whichever one it may be. Oftentimes, I'm not diminishing anybody's culture because there's richness to it. But when we look across from each other, we do see a human, and I like to try and meet humans where they are. Sometimes we're so caught up in our dissonance, we forget to meet each other where we are, and I like to try and do that. But, so we go to the bookstore, right? We go to the store, we get to the mall. I get enamored by the bookstore. I end up running to it, just completely leaving my friends behind. Don't worry, I looked left and right. GTA 6 is coming out in 2025. I gotta stay alive to at least see it and play it one time. So I looked left and right, up and down before I crossed the street. I went into the bookstore, grabbed as many books as I could, and just read the first chapter of each one to see which one sparked my interest. I had been reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, and a sequel to that would be How to Be Anti-Racist. It's a beautiful personal narrative interlinked with the historicity of things. I wish I had gotten a picture of it, but he depicted things about the Confederacy and him being in a Martin Luther King oratory competition and the name of the high school that he was in representing the Confederacy. And if you know, the Confederacy fought to keep black people in slavery or enslaved, and yet Martin Luther King was against bondage of humanity. And the name of the high school, he kind of juxtaposed a lot of complex ideas that I'd have to read to you verbatim because I'll butcher it, paraphrasing it. I think I already did. And I sat in that bookstore amidst all the chaos in my life right now, all the uncertainties, and I found peace. In every word that leapt off the page to me, in every single sentence, I found a little bit of peace in each single one of them. And it was weird because then I read the verse, we create desolation and we call it peace. But yet in that instance, I had felt fully at peace in the midst of all these books, in the midst of all this literature, in the midst of all this history, of the perspective of the human experience perfectly embodied in every single word, intricately placed in this bookstore for us to gain access to at our disposal. It was kind of beautiful to me. But when driving back, not me, I don't drive. Thank you, lady. Thank you. When we were driving back, I just took some time to remain in the present and understand that I don't have to fight with these memories. Because the more I fight with them to become memories, the more I lose my memory and lose the taste and flavor to savor of these memories. I have to learn how to savor these memories in the present moment and to conserve them so that I can smile when thinking of these memories and associate them with beauty. The more I fight my memory and the more I fight fun becoming memories, the worse it'll become, in a sense. There are some complex ideas that I'm trying to get through in my mind, but it's not being formulated properly. Or maybe it is. You'll understand it. If you don't, just reach out, speak to me, and we'll talk, because I love talking to people. But it was the perfect experience today. It was the perfect experience. It was absolutely perfect. From the rising up today and hearing from somebody I haven't heard from in a while, which would be Hannah, but that was later in the day. But from waking up and going to Bible class, Cornerstone getting canceled, and then being able to interact with individuals, it was just like the perfect sequence of things, the perfect sequence. Do you know what it's like to just listen to water flow and understand that there's a poetic nature in the way it flows? That's how my day's been. It's just been flowing beautifully. It's just been an outpouring of beauty. And I'm now looking to see and reflect the beauty around me. I look outside right now and I see a multicolored tree. In each leaf, a different story is told, unfolds in the scope of history. It's beautiful. So, I don't know. Everybody and everything has a story to tell. We just got to do our best to meet it where it is so that it can tell us our story and sometimes we find our stories through other people's stories. And that's kind of why I like books so much. But back to the theme. I realized that I was putting myself in harm's way and calling it peace because I become so comforted by the longing of desolation and isolation that I forgot that I have my own life to live and that I can't live life through other people's lenses. I've always been known as a kind of a loner, stick to myself and do my own thing, that it kind of became who I was. I let external influences take away from who I really am, the real version of me. I let other people's perception dictate who I wanted to be, and I wasn't really allowing myself to be myself. Sometimes I do like to go out and have fun, which is weird because I also am conflicted with the notion of staying inside. But maybe I like staying inside so much because when I go out, I frequently hear, "Oh, you're going out today?" Kind of dissuades me from going out. Maybe because I'm rebellious. I don't know. I get that from my mother. Reminds me of an idea he expressed, the book about how to be anti-racist. In the book, he spoke about how he loved and hated his dad for being him, being free. A black man being free in this country in a different age where he could have gotten lynched or hurt for being free unapologetically in a country that typically doesn't accept black people expressing their liberality. He juxtaposed a lot of complex ideas again. When I get that book, because I'm getting my hands on that book, I'm going to get the book. I don't have much money to get the book with right now. And if my mom hears that, please don't take it personally. I love you. You're doing everything you can to make this college experience the best thing. And if for all the things that I despise about college, my mom is making it durable? Durable? No, that's not the word. Making it not as pénible. Pénible in French means horrible. Not a direct translation, but she's doing everything she can to make this more tolerable. And I thank her for it. But when I get my hand on that book, I can't wait to talk about some of the ideas juxtaposed in it. Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's not just the idea of a black man and his struggles, because we're not taking that away from him in any way. It is the idea of humanity and their struggle in being human, in this human experience, in this human vessel, with the spirit that we embody each human vessel in. So, yeah. But with that being said, and with this podcast coming to an end, I will work towards not allowing myself to desolate myself and call it peace, but to find peace. And yeah, For the song today, which you won't hear on YouTube because I'm not trying to get demonetized. I'm kidding. I'm just not trying to get copyrighted. I don't make money from any of my content. I have 40 subscribers and I yap a lot. So there I go again, discrediting myself. But again, this is me finding my voice. So I hope that I was able to fully capture what I was trying to say in the podcast. A lot of ideas were intermingled in this 15, 60 minute-ish speaking of mine. I'm going to go eat now. I'm very hungry. And I hope that all of you lovely souls have an amazing day. I hope that you get to experience the poetry in each day, the beauty in each day, the life that each day comes with. And live the day today like it's the last time you'll ever be able to experience the day, because it really is. I love you all. And for the song of the day that you'll hear if you hear this on Spotify, I'd like to thank Lady and Nevaeh and Leslie for the song. So yeah, thank you. Thank you to you guys. You're going to hear other voices because I'm not alone in this room. But thank you, and I hope that you all have a beautiful day.